Let's talk Tanya for the 20th day of the second Adar. So in the last few days, we've been talking about how mitzvahs affect dir b'tachtonim, how through us doing mitzvahs, we create a home for God over here in this world. And we explained exactly how that works. In today's Tanya, which is somewhat of a lengthy piece, the Alter Rebbe tells us that although every time we do a mitzvah, the mitzvah is creating a dir b'tachtonim, creating a home for God in this world, nevertheless, there are two super mitzvahs. There are two mitzvahs that they pack a disproportionate punch in this area, and they have a much greater impact in the area of dir b'tachtonim, of elevating this world. And what are they? The first mitzvah, the Alter Rebbe introduces, is tzedakah, is charity, which is why our sages tell us that tzedakah is shkula keneged kol mitzvahs, which means that tzedakah is the equivalent of all the other mitzvahs combined. What does that mean? How is tzedakah the equivalent of all other mitzvahs combined? Tzedakah is one mitzvah, like every other mitzvah. And if we understand that the purpose of all mitzvahs is creating a home for God in this world, and that every mitzvah accomplishes that, so in which way is tzedakah the equivalent of all the other mitzvahs combined? So the Alter Rebbe explains that tzedakah is unique in that it lacks two limitations which every other mitzvah has. Yes, every time we do a mitzvah, we are elevating the energy of the animal soul which is invested in the commission of that mitzvah. However, only a certain limb is being used in doing the mitzvah. We're giving charity, that's the hand giving charity. We're studying Torah, it's the mind studying Torah. We're saying, we're praying, it's the mouth. We're walking to shul, it's the feet. So that's one limitation, that only the energy of a particular limb is being elevated when that mitzvah is being done. That's number one. Number two, obviously also, when we're doing a mitzvah, you're only elevating the energy at that moment. In other words, the energy that you're using while you're doing the mitzvah. Let's compare this to tzedakah now. Tzedakah, however, lacks both of these limitations. And why is that? Because when I'm giving tzedakah, the energy that went into this dollar bill that I'm giving to tzedakah, that is the energy that I spent the last month working. Because I am taking right now the money that I earned with the work that I have done. And when I give that to charity, in essence, I'm elevating the entire work that I did. Now, which part of me went into the work? Now, if you're like most of us, we invest our entirety into our work. So therefore, we're elevating our entirety to God, the entirety of the animal soul, which is invested in our work. And it's not only the energy of the animal soul at the moment when I'm giving that dollar to charity, but rather I'm elevating all the energy of the animal soul that went into all the work, the 8 hours that I put into the office over the last who knows how long, every single day, that's all being elevated. So we understand why tzedakah is the super mitzvah. It manages to elevate so much energy of klipa. That $1 you put in represents an incredible amount of klipa energy that is being elevated. That is the first super mitzvah. The second super mitzvah, ironically, is Torah study. We say every morning in the davening, v'talmud Torah keneged kulam, that studying Torah is the equivalent of all the other mitzvahs. Now, that's kind of strange. Why? Because we're trying to elevate the physical world. After all, studying Torah is more of a spiritual endeavor. How does that work? The Alter Rebbe says, yes, that is true. However, at the same time, there's two advantages that studying Torah has over all other mitzvahs. Number one, when I study Torah, I'm elevating the mind, the brain of my animal soul. No other mitzvah accomplishes that. So that's one area on dir b'tachtonim, which is a very core, elemental part of who I am, the mind of my animal soul that's being elevated when I study Torah. That's number one. Number two, the Alter Rebbe says that when I'm studying Torah, we know there are 248 mitzvahs. Every mitzvah represents to one of the limbs. The study of Torah represents the brain. Just like in all our limbs, there's energy in every single one of our limbs, but obviously the most potent and highest and greatest energy is in the brain. The same thing is also when we're studying Torah, we're bringing down a level of energy here into this world, which is very high and potent, an extremely high level of godliness. So therefore, that affects an incredible dir b'tachtonim, an incredible elevation over here in this world. However, the bottom line at the end of the day, as great as studying Torah is, and in a certain way is greater than any other mitzvah and is the equivalent of all of them combined, ultimately, the bottom line, the primary purpose of here in this world is to take a physical object and to do a mitzvah, which is why that if I'm studying Torah and I have the opportunity to be able to do a action mitzvah, and there's no one else to do it, I have to close my book, my sefer, and go and do the mitzvah, because ultimately it's about bringing godliness down into that physical object. In tomorrow's Tanya, we were going to start the next chapter. We're going to start chapter 38. And the first part of the chapter is going to be concluding this entire idea that we're talking here about the advantage of the physical action and mitzvahs over anything spiritual that we might do.